How's it going, everyone? Are you ready to finally conceptualize how to give your mix that final polish, that element that really gives your mix another dimension? In this concept tutorial, we're going to take a detailed look at how to use Reverb and the concepts behind this processing application. As always, if you find these videos informative and helpful, definitely hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Your support goes a long way. Alright, let's jump into this video. So, Reverb involves a few different concepts having to do with time and amplitude. So what do I mean by this? The best example of processes of time are pre-delay, early reflections, and decay time. Something that most people do not think about is how much sound can inform you about your surroundings. Just think, if you were to close your eyes and walk into a church, you most likely will be able to tell that you are in a large room with lots of space. This is because sound is physical. Sound is vibrations that move over a period of time, and these three terms that I mentioned, pre-delay, early reflections, and decay time, when combined together, gives us a significant amount of information about where the walls are and how far away they are from each other, and they even give you a general shape of the environment. Let's break this down. So before any of these terms come into play, there needs to be a sound source. This source creates sound vibrations, and if nothing was in the way of the sound source and your ears, you would hear the source's direct sound. But the vibrations do not stop at our ears. They continue on until they come intact with another solid object. And once the vibrations hit that first object, the vibrations will reflect at different levels depending on the size of the room and where in the room the sound source is located. So knowing this, an early reflections control on a reverb unit adjusts the levels that these reflections are heard. Louder early reflections can help to simulate a shorter distance between the sound source and the object, while quieter early reflections indicates that the vibrations took longer to reach and reflect off an object. Another parameter that helps to shape a room's sonic characteristics is pre-delay. Pre-delay is the amount of time in between the sound leaving its source and the first onset of early reflections. This provides time information about the type of room you are in, while early reflections provide amplitude information. This is an incredibly useful tool in mixing, as it helps to contrast the direct sound from its reverberations, and therefore helping to clarify both sonic elements in their own way. With no pre-delay, it is common for the late sustain of a direct sound to get muddied, and pre-delay helps to provide contrast between longer sustaining vibrations and any early reflections. Don't laugh at me, but I thought this picture here did a really good job of providing a visual explanation of what pre-delay is. Finally, the last control that really helps to shape the environment of a mix is the decay time. The decay time is essentially the rest of the timeline of a sound vibration. It determines how long after the early reflections the sound continues to bounce off objects before it becomes inaudible. So if you think about it, this control gives us information over a longer period of time about where the walls are and what direction the walls are reflecting the sound. Now knowing the stages of sound reverberation, I definitely suggest listening for each of these elements next time you are in a big room. It will start to help you develop the ability to craft more realistic reverb settings in your mixes. However, I have an easy way to quickly dial in a solid sounding reverb. Because all reverb is time, so it's actually quite an easy math equation to calculate the time related settings in your mix. So check this out. 60,000 divided by the tempo of your song. And just to cover all the bases, there are many ways to find the tempo if you don't already know. The most easy way is to download a tap tempo app on your phone or computer, and you're good to plug these numbers into a calculator and calculate your options for the time-related parameters.
You make it hard for a boy like that to know wrong. I'm wishing I could make this right.
So these are the big concepts you need to know to understand what reverb is and how to create a reverb that sounds great in your mix. However, there are a ton more controls that vary greatly from processor to processor, but I will go over a few of these that are rather common and not quite self-explanatory. You might be curious as to how reverb modulation works. So if you listen to a natural reverberation, there is an element of randomness in the reflections due to how the molecules react to each other in space. While in a reverb unit, everything is calculated, and modulation helps to add an element of randomness to the reflections by adding another variable wave to the decaying sound. This wave will reflect off surfaces differently due to its changing pitch. Some reverb units have a modulation depth control, which controls how much you are able to change this pitch of the modulating wave. Dampening is another concept that is seen in some reverb processors. What this control aims to provide is the ability to choose the surface that the reverberations reflect off. It does this through frequency alterations. So think about how a sound vibration would sound reflecting off an absorptive surface versus a highly reflective surface. High frequencies are more easily absorbed, so the more absorptive surface, the less high end will be present in the early reflections, while a reflective surface will absorb less frequencies and have a more intense set of early reflections. Finally, I just want to mention density. I do not see this one quite as often, but I think it is a valuable concept regardless. Density controls allow you to adjust the time between the early reflections and any upcoming reflections. You will hear more reflections in general with higher density and less reflections with lower density. The application really depends on how long a sustain the source has. It is common to find drums having higher density reflections and sources with long sustains such as trumpet to have less density. So in this episode, we learned that reverb has a lot to do with time. We are essentially shaping the path of our direct sound when we adjust our reverb parameters. This processing application has so much variety and there are so many unique reverb units out there. Hopefully this video helped to give you an idea of what you are doing with reverb, as well as breaking down some common tools we use to create our sonic environment. I just want to thank you guys for the support and quality feedback I've been receiving from our small community, and until the next video, have a good one.